And so the plants are stepping up to initiate us into what it means to be truly human, living sanely within the collective. Because if we don't get it together to live within this diversity and be good with it, instead of fighting with each other all the time, I mean, that's crazy. So that's kind of the next level of evolution with the plants, is that they are stepping up to step into the role of the elder. So the plants are really, on a big level, guiding us in our spiritual evolution right now, and guiding us and they really want us to succeed. It's not like this is not a competitive thing. This is a cooperative, which is a part of the new paradigm. It's about cooperation. It's not about competition. And so they are really supporting us to be all we possibly can be.
Welcome to the Sacred Planet podcast. I am your host, Jocelyn Starfeather. Did you know that we are living at the end of a massive 26,000 year cycle? This is a cycle that can be defined not astrologically, but astronomically by the movement of the North Star in the sky. Every 26,000 years, we come back to the original North Star. The times that we are living in now are when one of these 26,000 year cycles is ending and a new one is beginning. And so this is why this time when we are alive right now has been foretold in the ancient prophecies of many indigenous and ancient peoples all around the world, from almost every continent. This is why the world feels so chaotic, so uncertain, and so unstable right now, because we are truly shifting from one age, one massive 26,000 year age, into a new one. This is also why we are seeing so many changes in our own lives, so many changes in the world. It's because the systems and structures, the patterns and beliefs that we have been carrying for an extremely long time are collapsing. They are breaking down. And this is terrifying and also very exciting, because those of us who are alive at this time, we get to choose what we will build next. We get to choose who we want to become in this new era. And so we see political instability, we see environmental changes that can feel frightening. We can see structures and patterns in our own lives falling away, perhaps a career, a relationship, a home, our health. And so it's really important to know during these times that these are actually not only ending times. This is not meant to be an apocalypse. This is actually meant to be the closing of a door to the old ways of being and the opening of a door to the new ways, to the radical new world that we are here to build together. And so let us dream into a world that our children and grandchildren and the next 7 generations will be delighted to inherit from us. And let's begin creating it one by one from within ourselves. That is where all change must begin, is from within every individual, and then it is rippled out to the world in miraculous and beautiful ways. Here in the Sacred Planet podcast, we will be talking about spiritual awakening. We will be talking about the massive changes that are happening in our world. And we'll be talking, most importantly, about how you can support yourself, how you can feel most healed and healthy and whole and inspired and uplifted and ready to build this new world together, ready to choose who you wish to become next as all of the old falls away and we are left with a blank slate to create anything that we wish, anything that we dream into the future. Welcome to the Sacred Planet podcast. I can't wait to share the incredible speakers and topics that we'll be sharing here on the podcast. And I hope that it will be a tremendous inspiration to you in your own life. I am your host of the podcast. My name is Jocelyn Starfeather. I am the founder of Sacred Planet. Sacred Planet is a global community of people who are awakening to their true power and magic within and co-creating together and uplifting and inspiring one another as we build this radical new world together. I can't wait to share more with you. I'll see you soon in our next podcast episode. Much love. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sacred Planet podcast. I am your host, Jocelyn Starfeather, and I am delighted to be here today with Pam Montgomery. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. It is always a pleasure to be with you. And so Pam Montgomery is an herbalist, author, international teacher, and earth elder who has passionately embraced her role as a spokesperson for the green beings and has been investigating plants and their intelligent spiritual nature for more than 3 decades. She is the author of 2 books, one of which is the highly acclaimed Plant Spirit Healing, a guide to working with plant consciousness. And I know that's how I originally discovered you, Pam, was that book. Pam teaches internationally and virtually on plant spirit healing, spiritual ecology, and co-creative partnership with nature. She is a founding member of United Plant Savers and more recently, the Organization of Nature Evolutionaries, or ONE. And Pam, I am just always so inspired by your work. You bring these very vast and cosmic ideas into how you work with plants and really bring in the shamanic nature of all of it as well in a beautiful, relatable way. So thank you so much for the work that you do.
Oh, well, you're so welcome. It's kind of funny. I'm like, I don't know how to do anything else.
Well, you're really good at this.
How did you get into this? Because I don't know how to do anything. All I can do is talk to plants. So, it's kind of funny. But yeah, it's I love what I do, and I'm passionate about it, and I just feel so grateful that I have these amazing beings in my life, and the beautiful, great nature that's all around us, and that I really love it, and I feel like it loves me. So it's this great, reciprocal relationship. So yeah.
Yes, and you bring so much magic, and really it's a paradigm shift, for so many of us to hear your perspective on these things. So it's a beautiful gift that you bring into the world.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I know today we're going to explore how plants are guiding our spiritual evolution. So I can't wait to dive into that.
Okay. Yeah. That's a big one.
It is. And so could you begin by sharing with us how are plants our teachers? How are they guiding us?
Oh my goodness. Well, the plants have been around a really long time, way before us. And so there's, the plants kind of have that long view. And plants have always evolved prior to their animal counterparts. So angiosperms, for example, which are flowering plants that have internal reproductive organs, evolved before mammals, which have internal reproductive organs as well. So that's the animal counterpart. I mean, partly because mammals needed something to eat, and angiosperms was what they were eating. And so one of the things they were eating. And so there's that. So that's kind of what I look at, kind of like how are the plants evolving, and and how is it that they're just ahead of humans, because that's the way it's always been. And so when we think about our evolution, which I think right now we're in a super fast evolutionary spiral right now. And you and I were just speaking about this, how we're all being called right now. I mean, the big call has gone out, and it's like, you can listen to the call, you can answer the call or not. I think kind of when you do the not thing, those things don't go well for you. That's what I notice. Things aren't in alignment, because if you're being called and that's part of your path, which I personally think it's everybody's path, but I'm going to not be too grandiose about it. I'll say, let me keep it personal. I feel like it's my path. I feel like it's your path, and that we're being called, and we have chosen the, you can, we have choice. That's part of the deal with being human. We got this thing called choice, free will and choice. You can choose this path, or you can choose the path that you're here to walk. And that's what we're doing right now. We're being called to walk the path that we came here to walk. And that's part of our evolution. And the plants are helping us to do that. So we're most, as far as nature goes, we're most symbiotically related to plants. Some people think, oh, animals, we're so related to animals. Only in the sense that we move around a lot. Humans and animals move around a lot. That's what we have in common. But with plants, they just move a lot slower than we do. With plants, all of our breath, all of our tissue, all of our food, all of our medicine come from plants. So we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for plants. So we're really related to them. So as far as nature goes, who are we most, I'll just say symbiotically related to, and it's plants and trees and sea vegetables too. But it's, so they're easy to communicate with, and they're easy to be guided, by them. So when we think about our spiritual evolution, so it's like, okay, how have the plants just preceded us in that evolution, as they have always done? And I start to look at all the ways, and, back in the 60s, and probably prior to that, but in my generation, it was the 60s. That's when I was young. And there was a lot going on with plants back then, and of the psychotropic nature, mostly. The herbal world was just beginning in this country to kind of take off. Flower essences, the Bach remedies had happened, but not so much in this country. So basically what happened was, starting back then, there was this kind of huge explosion with plants that open doors of perception. So psychotropic plants, and so what it did for my generation anyway was, it just was like, oh, there's a whole nother way of looking at things here. Oh, there's actually multi-dimensional realities here. Oh, there's like, it just opened the door
So much more than we can see.
Way more than what we can see right here.
Yeah.
And so it really opened up the doors to be like, oh, there's way more going on here. And so, and then from there we went into, so then the flower essences got to be, famous in this country. And now there's 50 million flower essence companies out there. And if people don't know what a flower essence is, there's no chemical constituents in a flower essence. It's strictly the vibratory resonance of the plant. Some would call it the signature of the plant, that gets transmuted into water, and which then you ingest. And it works more like on an emotional, spiritual level, emotional, soul, spiritual level. It can have effect physically, but that's not really the level at which it works. So there was that. And then, of course, then plant spirit healing, which I've been very interested in. And that has a lot to do, you don't really even have to ingest the plant. It's really about moving into a co-creative partnership with the plant, to the point at which the plant, I don't know how else to describe it, that it just lives inside you. It's like, there's this big house. Your energy body is a big house, and there's all these rooms in the house, and you become very close to plants, and they bring themselves and all of their gifts, all of their healing gifts, and they come and live in your house. And when you call upon one of them, because you're very closely related and you know how to call upon them, because they've identified that feeling sensation within you so that you know which door to go to and knock on and say, yes, I need your help. And then, you kind of open up that door and there they are. Here they are right here. And you're like the hollow bone. You're like that the plants work through. So that's kind of like how the plant spirit healing process, like in a nutshell, works, is that you become like homies with these plants. They live inside you with all their healing gifts. You call upon them, and you just kind of open that channel, and they work through you. So they do the work. So in healing, they do the work. So there's that. So there's plant spirit healing. And so now what's happening, they're initiating us into the plants they're evolving too. They're just ahead of us in their evolution. They've now taken on the role of the elder. And in traditional initiations, the young people of the tribe would be initiated by the elders into kind of like their adulthood, and as part of the collective, as part of the tribe. And so what the plants and elders are not all gone, but many of them have gone, and there's nobody coming up behind them. I shouldn't say that. Yes, there are. It's just they're not quite on board yet. So the plants are seeing that, oh, this is really necessary right now. There's a whole slew of uninitiated humans out there. They don't have a clue about how to live sanely, keyword, within the collective. Don't know how to do it because we've never been initiated. And so the plants are stepping up to initiate us into what it means to be truly human, living sanely within the collective. Because if we don't get it together to live within this diversity and be good with it, instead of fighting with each other all the time, I mean, that's crazy. So anyway, so that's kind of the next level of evolution with the plants, is that they are stepping up to be the initiators, to be the elders, to step into the role of the elder. So the plants are really, on a big level, guiding us in our spiritual evolution right now, and guiding us and they really want us to succeed. It's not like this is not a competitive thing. This is a cooperative. This is cooperative, which is a part of the new paradigm. It's about cooperation. It's not about competition. And so they are really supporting us to be all we possibly can be. And so it's just this beautiful, oh, I love it. I just love plants. And they're just so, they're not judgmental. They're not like, it's such a different relationship than with people, to be honest. Not that people are horrible, but it's very different. And they're just so forgiving, and they're so supportive, and so like, and if you kind of, stumble a little bit, or you forget, or you fall into amnesia, it's not like, oh, you're a bad person. It's not like that. It's like, oh, it's like they just help you get back up on your feet again and carry on. And you and I were speaking earlier, this has been an extremely challenging time, especially with the eclipses and all of that. And those of us who happen to be Tauruses in this Taurian time have, it's been like full on, like craziness in a way. Good stuff, but a little not so sometimes. And I have a tree. It's a white pine tree, and it's right out. It's on the other side of the stream here, and it's really big. It's super tall. And so it just really stands out in the landscape. And I call it my tower of strength. It's like strong. And this last 2 weeks, probably 3 times, and I can see it right out my kitchen window. I can be washing dishes, and there it is. And I'm just like in one of those places of like, okay, this is really getting hard. I can't do this by myself. And I'm like, white pine, I need your help and I need it now. I need that tower of strength right now because I'm really on the edge. Every time and I mean, this is washing dishes at my kitchen sink. If I actually walk out there and hang out with white pine a little bit and put my back up against this big, gorgeous trunk, or sit with it for a while, or put my forehead against the trunk, and then I get filled, then it just fills me with that energy. So anyway, just to say, these plants and trees are really here for us right now, and they can offer so much assistance. And was that the question?
Yes, that's great. And I
go off on little tangents. So,
well, I love how you shared this kind of historical, that even just way back on evolutionary terms, that the plants have been leading the way for such a long time, and that they developed certain functionality that then we incorporated because it was working, and that has helped us to evolve into this, this where we are now. And so that they're still leading the way, right? That they're coming in. And it's so fascinating to me in hearing how you share this, that the plants do this so quietly, right? Like we're, humans, we're all loud when we want to get something done, or we're like pushy, like we have our ways of making things happen, or maybe we meditate, but there's different ways of doing it. But the plants are so quiet and they take their time. And like the psychedelic renaissance that was happening in the 60s and 70s, and then and really and is rising back now after a little bit of dormancy, right? Is rising back up now,
but in an interesting way, in a very interesting way, which is like, it's not the recreational way so much. Now it's on a whole different level. It's really about deep healing.
Yeah, right.
Deep healing,
right.
Which is amazing.
It is amazing, right? And it's like we're at this point where we're ready to do that kind of work as a collective. Many people are ready. And then also how the plants are showing up, and just, I know for me, as I walk through my neighborhood, the trees are just calling out to me. I feel like they're really, really reaching out to us. And it is this all hands on deck kind of a time.
It really is.
You really need to step up. And they are too, it's like we're stepping up, they're stepping up. It's so beautiful to see that and to feel that. I hadn't felt it in that way until I heard you explaining it. So that's,
and I'm glad you're saying this, because here this spring we've had this, like, I'm going to call it a super bloom, like they're having in California. They're having a super bloom in California because there's been so much rain, so California's like, blooming like crazy. And here, I was driving, I don't know, into town or somewhere, and I was driving along. All of the wild apple, there's lots of wild apple trees here. I mean, there's orchards too, but there's a lot of wild apple trees, and there's wild cherry trees. And every one of them is like full bloom. I mean, like every single little bud is like all, some years, maybe a few of the flowers open because maybe there's a big cold snap and maybe there's been a frost or something and not all the blossoms open. This year, it's like full on. And I just went over to a friend's house earlier this morning, and just driving, I couldn't stop. Like, I was like driving off the road, looking at all these trees in full bloom, and some of them have a pinkish little tint. And then the wild cherries are blooming, and oh man, it is full on. And I'm just like, wow. So it feels like just their presence is so dramatic. It's dramatic right now.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's something in this one. This is a big year. This is a big year coming up. I mean, it already is a big year. It already has been. Oh my gosh. Is it going to get any bigger than this? Oh, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Astrologically, it sure is. That's another podcast episode.
That's another one.
Well, there's
that summit,
Yes. There's something also really interesting here about our, our consciousness. And we think of our, like raising our consciousness, or, like opening our heart, opening our minds to new possibilities, to greater perceptions of our own power and miracles that are available, right? All of this. And that is very connected to the light, and like the light source creator, the sun, the stars, and the plants, and their relationship to light is so powerful. I know this is something I've heard you share amazing things about, but just that the plants are the ones that, we don't know how to do this. They know how to take light.
We don't know how to do this. We don't know how to capture sunlight and turn it into energy. They do. That's their big deal. That's one of their huge gifts, is like they work with the sun every day. Isn't that amazing? And they turn that sunlight into into, let's try a different word, into, I was going to use the word magic, but it's true. They turn it into food. They turn it into tissue. They turn it into medicine. They turn it into all these different levels. And it's not just physical stuff either. I mean, the energetics of what plants emit are unbelievable. And so, so it's just amazing, isn't it? And there's so much more light coming to the planet, us moving through the big photon belt right now. And there's all this new light coming in.
Yeah, right.
And the plants are actually, last year we did in our plant initiations, and I was mentioning that earlier about they're initiating us, and we actually do initiations with the plants. And last year it was Ladies' Mail, and Ladies' Mail is the alchemist, Alchemilla. And Ladies' Mail was all about the gold frequency. And I was like, oh, the gold frequency. Oh, okay. Teach us about that. Oh my gosh, this energy that's coming through right now from the light and light beings, I'm going to extend it to that too, is unbelievable. It's like, I've always thought there's nothing new under the sun, but I'm starting to think there's new things coming in now. There's new energy coming in now. And we've never seen anything like it before. And so it's kind of like, here we are. Oh, this is intense. This is big energy. And so what does that mean for us as, little humans trying to integrate it all? I feel like what we're being called to do right now, it's like the difference between a nuclear power plant and a 100-watt bulb. We've been operating on a 100-watt bulb, and now we're being called to operate on the energy of a nuclear power plant.
It does feel like that.
Doesn't it feel like that? So what does that mean? It means that we need to make our container big enough to hold that kind of energy. If we keep the container little, a 100-watt bulb container, and this energy is trying to come through, it's like, it's like we don't know how to manage ourselves, or we get burnt out, or things happen that we need to be able to manage this kind of energy. And so the plants are helping us to manage it because they're really good at it. They're good at managing that kind of big energy.
Right. They've been doing it for millions of years. And they probably remember a time when the energy was like this. It may have been before we existed, right? Or it may have been very early in our evolution, and they know how to work with that. That's really amazing.
Yeah. Because they were around for, what is it? 3.8 billion years ago. I mean, it's a long time.
It was a long time. They've seen a lot.
They've seen a lot. They've experienced a lot. They've adapted. That's the other big thing happening right now. We need to learn how to adapt to a changing environment. Things are changing, and they're changing fast. And if we don't adapt, well, okay, whatever, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to choose adaptation personally. And there's tons of plants that are fabulous to help you with adapting. They're called adaptogens. That's what they do. That's one of their gifts. And so let's get with that. And it's adapting on all levels. It's not just physical, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, adapting so that we can manage this new energy, adapting physically so we can manage this new environment, adapting emotionally so we can handle uh, should I dare to use the word insanity? There's
Yeah.
a fair amount of insanity going on the planet right now. And it's real hard. It's hard. It's hard to, it's really hard when you're trying to work towards interbeing and unity consciousness and share, paradigm shifting and the new story. And when you're really, really working that way, and you've got this other thing going on that's seriously crazy.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm being gaslit half the time. That expression of like, making me feel crazy, except that I'm not crazy.
Just by world events, right?
Just by world event, by picking up a newspaper. Oh, people don't read newspapers anymore. Okay, news online. It's just like, I go away. I'm delete, unsubscribe. Don't read that crap. I'm sorry. Maybe some of it's good.
Yeah, I think we have to get our news from the plants and the heavens and the earth. It's like the real news, right?
Yes. What's that? There's a saying by, I think it was Aldo Leopold, and he said, go out to the forest and learn the news of the day. I'm like, yeah,
I love
that's
that.
what we need. You're absolutely right. Go to nature and get your news for the day.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's big times that we're in, and I just feel like the plants can help us so much. So yeah.
So how do you recommend beginning this connection with them? For those who might be listening who haven't had a conversation with a tree yet, or maybe did a couple times, but they want to do more. What do you recommend for people to?
Well, I mean,
connection.
There's so much you can do. I mean, if this is really, really new, then start with what you've got. Start with what you have, and what you have is your breath, and that's a given. That is, you wouldn't be able to be here if you weren't breathing. And where does your breath come from? Your breath comes from the plants and the trees, exclusively plants, trees, and sea vegetables. All oxygen comes from plants, trees, and sea vegetables. So your very breath is with the green beings. And so what I tell people who are just beginning, so it's this is not hard. This is something you do every second of every minute of every hour of every day. So it's always available to you. But now you bring it into conscious awareness that you are breathing in the breath of another being, of a green being, and you're breathing out carbon dioxide. So the plants are breathing in your exhale. Mm-hmm. So there's this cycle of breath all the time. And that's what we do. So we just take it for granted. But when we realize that that's what's happening, and we realize, oh, we're already in relationship with these plants. That's a given. You are already in relationship. Now bring it into conscious awareness. Let your first breath of the day be a conscious one of breathing either with a plant that you like or a tree that you love that's in your yard, or just taking the breath in, knowing that all this green that's out here is emitting oxygen and you're breathing it in. And then the plants are breathing you in. And so when you bring it into just like just a simple little meditation of like, you are the breath of another being, and you're breathing in the breath of another being. Like when you take it to that level and really bring it in, the intimacy that you begin to feel with your tree or your plant or whatever it is so profound. It takes it out of the mundane and brings it into the area of profound. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm the breath of another being. Wow, that's intimate. Ooh, baby. I mean, serious.
Yes.
Think about it.
Truly.
So
beautiful.
That's simple. Everybody can do that. Everybody. So, and the minute you start to relate to plants and trees that way, they're like, oh, goody. They're paying attention to me. Oh, check it out. And before you know it, that little things start to happen, and you start to notice things, and oh, you'll be like walking along and you say, oh, there's that plant again. Oh, I just saw it in my yard. Oh, there's that plant again. And then like this, thought starts marching across the radar screen, or a song comes up, or or a smell, or things will start to happen, and you need to pay attention to those, because that's the touches.
Yeah.
Nature is touching you all the time. All the time there's touches coming. What we just need to do is pay attention to them. The plants, especially because we're so symbiotically related to them, it's kind of easier to access them. And they're just full of vital force energy, which to me, that's what spirit is. It's the vital principle held to give life. That's how I define spirit. And are there individual spirits? Yes, because it's a hologram. And the hologram is like, here's, you got the big picture of the vital principle held to give life. And then you take a piece out of that, and the whole is contained within the piece. So that, this plant, contains a piece of the hologram. So just like we do too. And so you have access to all of spirit within the spirit of the plant. So it's the unique, representation of the within the hologram. So, yeah, let's see. The question was, how do people get connected?
And they
start with your breath.
They really talk to us. This was such a fascinating experience for me very early in my awakening journey. There was this big stand of pine trees out behind my house. And so I had just started going back to work after the birth of my daughter. I was home with her 3 months, and I had to go back to work. And I would be packing, the food for her to, send to daycare with her for the day. And I would look out at these trees, and they would be swaying, and they were so beautiful, and the light would be coming through them. And I had never had anything like this happen before. And they said to me, "Why are you going to work?" Like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Basically was the feeling of it. And they were like, don't go sit under those fluorescent lights. Come here with us. And I'm like, whoa, what's happening? At that point I was like,
oh, my life's about to change.
Like, what's going on? And yeah, my whole life did change.
Wow.
And what's fascinating, because gradually, as I listened to them more and more and went out and spent more time with them, I was able to start my business and not have to go to that cubicle ever again, so it's really fascinating how they will speak to us, and
they speak to us all the time.
Yeah.
We just need to be open to listening to them. And it comes, the communication comes in lots of different ways, sometimes in words, but a lot of times not. I mean, in the biological world, the foundational forms of communication are light and sound. It's light and sound, which carries a vibratory resonance that we feel in our body. We have a sensation of it in our body. So their language is not quite the same as ours, but we translate the touches that we're receiving into words because that's what's familiar to us. And so anyway, so yes, the words do come, but it's a translation. It's important to understand that their language is a little different than ours, but we definitely can receive it. And the more you allow those messages or guidance or words to come in, the more it happens. Because once they know that you're paying attention and that you can translate, then they're like, oh, goody, someone to talk to.
Right.
But, be prepared for your life to change. I'm telling you, like you found out, because what these plants are doing is they're here to support us it's the two main questions. Who am I and what am I doing here? Those are the two biggies. And that's what they're doing. Like, they're helping us to come into our true essential nature, who we really are, not all the facades that we put on for different roles that we play or whatever. No, who are you truly? Who is your true essence? And what is the path you're here to walk? That's what they're doing. They're supporting us to do that, because that's what it's about. That's what evolution is about. And that's what we're all doing here, is evolving, hopefully, to a place where we stop destroying the planet and live, peace on earth. Hey, I'm still going for peace on earth.
Yes. Let's co-create it.
Let's co-create it. Yeah. So yes, they talk to us all the time, and we just need to really start opening and paying attention. I had this really funny experience, and this is what got me into the online world, believe it or not, is the big event that happened not too long ago that interrupted everybody's life for 3 years. So I was going to do a dandelion initiation. So springtime of the year, this time of the year. And I was like, oh, sorry, dandelion. I went out and I was like, sorry, then I have to cancel this initiation because I can't have anybody come here. I can't, nobody can come, there's this thing happening that we can't gather together. So I'm going to have to cancel. Dandelion was like, I'm not on lockdown. And I went, oh, good point. Okay. What would you like me to do? Well, you're going to do the initiation online. And I'm like, I'm going to do what? Because I've always been really resistant of this online thing, because I'm like, how do you do plants on a computer? Really? So I was like, okay, all right, now wait a second here. And I'm a very non-techie person when it comes to the tech world. So I said to Dandelion, I said, okay, you want me to do this online? You need to help me here, because I, to be honest, I don't even know where to begin. Within a week, that's all it took. I had this woman call me from California. I had done a redwood initiation out there. And she called up and she said, are you planning any initiations? I said, well, actually, this is what's happening. And she was like, she works for one of the universities out in California, and she was having to be on Zoom all the time for teaching her students, because that's where it was all going, was online. And she said, well, actually, I'm getting pretty good at Zoom. I know all the tech around that. And I said, really? I said, well, how would you feel about doing all the tech for me on a dandelion initiation online? She said, oh, absolutely.
Wow.
It took a week.
Just showed up.
Dandelion. I said, okay, Dandelion, you're going to have to help me. Boom, boom, boom. Dandelion took care of it. That's how it works.
Mm. Yes.
When you say, okay, I'll do that but I need help.
Yeah.
Boom. Everything gets put into action. That's how it works.
This is such a huge part of what the plants are trying to tell us, right? This is how it really works.
This is how it really works.
Logical linear structure and Excel sheets and whatever, this modern construct that we put on things.
Right.
There's this much more natural flow we can step into, where whatever we need, the resources just show up.
Yep. So that's what got me into the online world, which now I do an 8-month online course every year called Co-Creative Partnership with Nature. You and I have done, we've been on here doing stuff a few times, more than once. Yeah. And, and other folks, and the online world is like really has gone wild. I never thought I would be a part of it. Dandelion made it so that I would be doing this with you right now.
Amazing. Thank you, Dandelion.
Amazing. Thank you, Dandelion. I know, but it was so funny when I went out. And it was just kind of so shocking. It was like, I'm not on lockdown. And I was like, oh.
That's so great. Well, would you share with us, Pam, a little bit more about your work? I know we're almost at our time here. So share whatever feels most important. I know you're writing a book, and
I'm writing a new book right now called Co-Creative Partnership with Nature. So surprise, surprise. And I'm actually loving it. I'm really loving this process. It's just been, it's my life work, really. And it's just, it's kind of funny, but a former student of mine who she kind of came out of the closet, and she's now doing her psychic thing. She's totally tuned in. She's psychic. And she's finally decided that, oh, okay, I can do this. So she did a reading for me. And she told me, she said, this book you're going to write, and it's going to be really different than the way you've written your others. You're going to write when spirit moves you. And I was like, oh, that'll be interesting. She's absolutely right on. That's what's been happening. When I sit down to write, it's like, it's just spirits moving right through me, and the plants, they are just going at it. And so I feel really blessed, and I feel like this book is really spirit driven, and it's super exciting. So that's that. And it won't come out till next year, but I'm super excited by that. And then I do this 8-month course, which it just started. We actually, I mean, if push comes to shove and somebody begs me to get in, I would probably let them in, because I can't say no to people who want to do this kind of work. So,
Yeah.
so there's that. And then I want to mention the Organization of Nature Evolutionaries, which I'm also a part of, which everybody might want to check out. The one organization, which in my bio, you mentioned that it's natureevolutionaries.com is the website. Just check that out, because we do lots of incredible free webinars and good stuff. And so I'm just a busy girl, and just being with the plants as much as I can. So thank you so much for wanting to talk to me about all this stuff.
Yes. Oh, I
love that you love it. I love that you love it, because it's always so fun to talk with you. And so, yeah.
Likewise.
And of course, we could go on and on and on and on and on, but
we could go on for another couple hours, I'm sure. It would be no problem. And I know, Pam, that you have a wonderful free gift for everybody too, the plant communication mini course. So would you like to say a few words about that?
Yes.
And I'll let everybody know where to.
It's a short little thing. There's a kind of a little explanation about plant communication, and then there's a meditation to do with plants, and then there's a video of like a demonstration. I'm with St. John's wort. I'm sitting with St. John's wort, and it's me kind of going through the plant and doing the sensory awareness thing, felt sensation, breathing, like, music with the plants. And but it's a video of me doing that with St. John's wort. So I call it a little mini course, because it's a little, you're getting a taste of it. So, but it's good. It's fun.
Beautiful. And let me just ask you this as a quick final question. If there's one plant that comes up for you that we should be working with now, what is it?
Oh God, you're gonna make me answer that? Okay. All right. If I had to narrow it down, what would it be? Do you want to go with an adaptogen, or do you want to go with your heart? Or maybe we should do both. Ooh. I would say Tulsi.
Okay.
Sacred basil, holy basil, Tulsi. That's a biggie, because it's a fabulous adaptogen, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And it's good for your heart too. I mean, it's a soul plant. It really helps work on that soul level. So it really brings you into your, you could call it higher self, maybe that bigger aspect of yourself, the kind of like the part of you that carries on from lifetime to lifetime. And Tulsi is an amazing plant in that way. They refer to Tulsi as the mother of the world.
Wow.
In India, she's considered the elixir of life. I mean, this is a highly revered plant. And Tulsi was actually a goddess. And in India, there's the Tulsi plants there grow like bushes. Here they're like annuals, and they grow out. They plant them outside of your door, because it keeps the bad juju from coming into your house. And they have little rituals every evening. They light a ghee lamp and place it at the base of the Tulsi plant. And then they walk around the plant as like a little ritual every day. So this plant is like a big one.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you, Pam, so much.
You're so welcome. It's always fun.
Shifting wisdom. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. And I wish you the best in all that you're working on.
Thank you, Jocelyn. It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye for now, everybody.